Welcome to the third episode of Sergeant to CEO presents Bourbon and Business, where the bourbon is optional. I'm your host, Will Marcus, the owner, sole proprietor of Sergeant to CEO Bourbon and Business. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing an entrepreneur who has publicly sworn to not protect once, but twice in the line of duty and make sure that he's very selfless and protect his communities in which he lives. I had the honor to talk to Chad Michael Bruckner, right? Bruckner, am I saying
That's
it
it,
right?
man. You said it good. And everybody messes that up. So yeah,
Man,
I get all sorts of variations on that. But yeah,
what's some of the craziest variations you done got on the name?
I got Bruckner, I got Buckner, I got Bucker, Brunker. And it's phonetically spelled exactly the way you say it, Bruckner.
Okay,
You did it
so
right.
so before we hop into this, let me run down your bio real quick, just to introduce you to
Yeah, cool,
our
man.
good people. Okay, so Chad Michael Bruckner is a police officer, performance coach, motivational speaker, and published author from Allentown, PA. Chad is currently leading a small business while serving as an active duty police officer and coaches youth sports. Chad served 13 plus years in law enforcement in multiple roles, such as a patrolman, detective, and undercover officer. Chad served 8 years in the U.S. Army Infantry and led combat missions in Iraq. In 2023, Chad published the Holy Trinity of Successful and Healthy Police Organizations, Improving Leadership, Culture, and Wellness. In response to the growing health and retention crisis in law enforcement and the military, Chad is a passionate advocate for veterans and police officers. Chad's mission is to inspire, unite, and encourage and empower professionals to reach their full potential. Chad has developed training programs in wellness, leadership, and resiliency, and publicly speaks on these issues. Chad is guided by his faith and core values and has dedicated his life to servicing others. Chad holds a master's degree in digital forensics and a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Chad is married to the love of his life, Christian, and a first grade teacher, and they have 3 children. Chad loves Philly sports, music, and film. All right, Chad. Well, I present to you no other, Chad Bruckner, y'all.
Will Marcus, dude,
Hey,
what's
listen,
up, man? This is great to be with you.
what's up, man, Chad? So listen, I have to give the audience a cheat code because even though we haven't met each other in public or in person yet, we're brothers in arms. Technically, we both served in the U.S. Army, and we both were a part of the EBV program through Syracuse University, which I have to commend is a great program for veterans to use if you're interested in entrepreneurship or leveling up your skills. Like the IVMF has so many programs, but specifically the EBV program has helped me tremendously. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. That program is incredible. I remember going for 10 days and just
Mm-hmm.
seeing how all the meals were lined up, all the classes were curated purposely and intentionally. The liaisons I had walking with you, put you up in the hotel room. I mean, it was like MBA level courses when I went. And it was, you're drinking through a fire hose, but you're getting so much business acumen and experience for everybody. Even if you pick up 10% of it as a veteran, you come out like we know when to pay attention to important things. So, like they give it to you, they know how to deal with veterans, are culturally competent,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, they help you level up. So if you're a veteran looking to be an entrepreneur, start a business, look out for the IVMF Syracuse University. Great program.
Definitely. I
And dude,
definitely
it's
look out.
paid. It's all paid. They
All
pay for
paid.
your travel, your hotel. They pay for everything.
I was just about to say that. I was about to say I think they're opening up the application portal soon, if not already. But if you want any resources, you can look at my personal page or reach out to me, and I'll make sure I share those resources with you. But before we get down to the questions, on Bourbon and Business, we usually say the bourbon is optional, and I think we both have some business meetings lined up after this, so it had to be optional today. But
Right.
what's your favorite bourbon and drink to have?
So I'm an old school guy. Like I love Jack Daniels. So more of a whiskey, I guess, than a bourbon, which I'm not sure what the difference is. But I'm not
Mm-hmm.
so much a connoisseur. But I love Jack Daniels. I mean, I could drink that straight on the rocks. Maybe as some sort of cocktail. But that's kind of my go-to. How about you?
Okay, we definitely have to meet up to have a cocktail in person. Jack Daniel is an old faithful. I think I'm more of a Woodford guy. I like Woodford
Uh,
Reserves. I like Old Forester. a little bit, but I learned because I usually drink with older men. Like, I love like picking older people's brain. They have so much
Yeah.
wisdom. So usually, when you're picking their brain and getting that knowledge, they're doing it over some bourbon or whiskey that they enjoy, which definitely has some age on it. So
And dude, don't you learn the most probably talking to older people like that when you have an environment? You're just like a sponge soaking it up.
just soaking it up, and it's so amazing. It's almost just like the EBV program. It's like you got an endless resource, and it's like they kind of guide you through the things that you didn't need, and like really, that's the heart and the soul of why I started like business to bourbon. And I feel like when people kind of like attract to like-minded people or people who aspire to be in the same path or footsteps as them, you start to pull out a lot of information, so you don't have to repeat the same mistakes that they made. So it's very good.
Yeah, that's the
Very
best,
good.
man. It's like recycling people's mistakes, and so you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
make them.
Make
And
the
that's
cheat
that's why
code on that.
mentorship. That's why mentorship is so important.
Yes, definitely. And we're definitely gonna get into that today because I've seen a lot of the things that you're doing with mentorship, youth advocacy, even with your book and like some leadership things. So let's start off from the beginning and kind of give me like an origin story. Tell the world who Chad is, how did Chad get to where he is now, and just give us an overview.
Yeah, I mean, tons of mistakes, man. I mean, I think I made more errors and failures and mistakes than I've had successes. Um, and I think that's the beauty of life is showing up your whole self and being comfortable with that. So I grew up outside of Philadelphia, just north of the city. I was born in the city. We lived there for a very short period of time. My parents moved out, and so suburb kid, kind of an affluent area, certainly a very affluent now. But my parents, I mean, amazing, amazing parents, salt of the earth type of people. My mom stayed home for a large portion of our childhood. We ran into some financial issues. She went back to work, and so that was a little bit of a chaotic time for me in my teenage years when we went through some financial hardships. But I look back at that as really we talk about origin stories. I mean, that is, I kind of look at my life as through those hardships, watch my parents battle as like the first memory of like, okay, life isn't easy. Life isn't always going to work out for you. So
Mm,
what? So what? You still show up and work through it. So because of that, we didn't have a whole lot of resources. So at that time, I graduated high school at 17. My dad was a veteran, and we basically the options for me were work at my uncle's gas station or go in the military. So that was kind of a no brainer. I went and enlisted in the Army at 17, and I only signed up for 4 years. I want to say only signed up for 4 years. Then 9/11 happened when I was on active duty, right at the end of my enlistment. So that just changed everything, and ended up reenlisting because I didn't want to get out, be on inactive ready reserve status, and get called back up like so many guys are happening to now, and kind of lose that time and that break in service. So I ended up reenlisting in the National Guard just to keep my rank. I just got promoted to sergeant, came back to Pennsylvania, and I was only in Pennsylvania for 6 months, and I got called back up to go to with an active duty battalion to Iraq.
mm.
It's just a crazy whirlwind time for me, like 2004 and five. But we got back from Iraq. Luckily, we my squad and I all made it back. Other platoons weren't so lucky, and it's actually the 20th year we came back this year, so we have a big anniversary at the end of this year. And then I pursued a career in law enforcement. It's funny, I never wanted to be a cop because the only experience I had with cops growing up was getting pulled over for traffic violations, and I just thought they were nice to me, but like that's not what I want to do. There's more, that I want to do. And it was in Iraq where we're doing all these para law enforcement operations, kicking in doors, cultivating informants, detaining, people that are enemy prisoners of war, having civil affairs try to get intelligence so we could do the next raid, and it was like as an infantryman, always training in the woods in the peacetime in the late '90s. Now it's wartime in the desert in an urban environment, and you have to be so much more in tune to your surroundings, including the human beings and the assets that you're protecting, serving, developing, getting information from. And I realized coming back from Iraq at 25, like, okay, I think police work, even though I don't know, there's got to be drug enforcement, there's got to be robberies and, undercover stuff to help people more than just writing tickets. So I was full speed ahead and pursued that and got hired with the police department right just north of Philadelphia in 2008. And I did 13 years there from 2008 to 2021.
Mm.
Yeah. So for the last 3 years, I've been in business. Actually, I came back onto the job last year. I mean, we can get into that later if you want, but it's the business part that I didn't plan for. And when I took an early retirement in 2021, I just turned 40, had no idea how I wanted to do it or what it was going to look like because I never had no really true examples or anybody liked the way. But I knew I wanted to leave law enforcement. It's 21 years of government between the military and law enforcement, and pursue business. Try to kind of push all my chips in the middle, bet on myself. When you're in those structured organizations, I'm sure you can relate. It's easy to just feel like you're a number. You're just one of many. Nobody really wants you to, takes the time to, you have mentors and things like that, but you're just a sea, a turtle in the sea.
Yeah,
Where in
you'll be
business,
replaced.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But in business, you create what you can create, and you have a lot more autonomy. It's a lot more risky and a lot more dangerous. But it's I think what attracted me was the ability to kind of push my chips in, not have anybody set any barometer for me, not anybody tell me what I can and cannot do, but just say I'm going to do it, right or wrong. I'm going to fail. I'm going to succeed, whatever that is. I'm going to learn all these lessons through those experiences, not get too big, not get too low, and just see how that works. So it's been an amazing journey, a lot of hardships, just learning something when you don't have that experience, but also a lot of blessings because I'm learning a lot about myself that I'm much more capable than I even realize in myself of how to persevere, how to handle problems, how to do big, bold things in a short period of time or plan something out for a 2-year project and get it done and be consistent. So I've really challenged myself. And I think that's what entrepreneurship does is it challenges us to step out of our comfort zones and grow beyond what we thought we could.
I would definitely agree that like that being that number inside of an organization does like kind of constrain you, and it feels like you may just be like, okay, what am I really doing in life? Like once I get done with this, like what's next? What's going on? What am I actually leaving here for legacy?
Right.
But being able to actually build a business and establish like generational wealth possibly, or just like a legacy that your grandkids or your grandkids could be like, oh, this was my pop, this is what he did, this is something, just so they can kind of like brag and like talk about your name. It gives it like a different type of like sense of pride and like camaraderie. But
Yeah, for sure.
talking about pride and lessons, I wanted to ask you, like, what are some of the things that translated over to you being the business? Like, you went from military, law enforcement, business. Like, what are the things that you seen that was common across the board, or that you're able to translate from military and law enforcement into being a CEO, entrepreneur, business owner?
I think getting back to the military roots for us, is that discipline, that ability to show up. You don't get to take a lot of sick days in the military. I mean, you do, but you really don't, right? You're like discouraged unless your arm is falling off or hanging by a thread. And then they're like, all right, go to the sick bay. It's like, geez, my arm's like about to fall off. So if you have just like a cold, you're not going to the sick bay, at least where the units I've been in. And so I think just learning how to push through your first moments of insecurities, your first moments of uncomfortable or discomfort, and that's what the military teaches you how to kind of push through, keep going. And on the other side of that is completion of the mission or success. So you learn in the military through forced learning how to get from something from the beginning to the end. And no matter how hard or challenging that journey is, you have no choice. It's the military. We have missions. You have to complete it. So it builds your confidence in business that, man, no matter what I'm facing, like I've been through something like this before. I know as hard as this is, it won't last forever. And I also know on the other side of this is a lot of lessons learned, a lot of growth, a lot of impact. So it helps you, that military helps you, I think, prepare you for entrepreneurship. And also the
Hmm.
discipline, leaning on your brothers and sisters to your left and right. It's just you guys over there. So, if you let somebody down, that possibly could cost them their life or get them injured. So you learn in business is the same thing with your teammates that, like I have some part timers working with me, and you learn that no matter what their status is, no matter who they are, where they're located in the country, they're my teammates, they're my people, and you have to take care of them. You have to look out for them. So I think that those leadership, culture, organizational culture stuff that you realize to be successful, you all have to swim in the same direction, push in the same direction. That brings into business and translates so well because that's how you make money. That's how you earn money and get sales is by being a cohesive unit, piggybacking off each other, tapping into each other's strengths and weaknesses because everyone's different, and really moving the ball forward as a company. And I think that that's how you do it, at least from my experience.
Mm. Yeah, I would agree, and that's a really good way to put it in a nutshell. And I'm pretty sure you'll be able to tell me a little bit more about that when we talk about some of the projects you have going on. But before we go into that, tell us about your business. Like, what's the vision? Who do you serve? How was it birthed into like this world and everything? Give us a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
overview.
It was. I think I can't speak for others, obviously, but I consider myself an artist to some degree. I love writing. I just finished a screenplay for a television series. That's a whole nother thing I'm passionate about. But so I love writing. I think it's very cathartic. I've healed a lot from just writing and putting stories out there and pen to paper. A lot of things I write I don't release. It's just that I journal for myself. I say all that to say I founded Motivate Change in 2023 because of the pain I was feeling, the not feeling as purposeful I love the policing profession. I love it so much. I think it's a noble profession. I think it's one of the most noble professions. I think in a free democracy like we have, or at least we hope we have, if you don't have quality, good public servants, keeping law and order, enforcing law and order, helping people when they need to be helped, taking bad guys when they need to be taken, like you need competent, quality, thorough police officers, I think, for us to have safe communities. It's not the only reason that communities are safe. You need community leaders. Everyone's got to work together. But I think it starts, you can have all the great community leaders, but if the cops aren't disciplined, if they're not working together, if they're not part of that community, it becomes us versus them. And it's hard to focus on the mission of keeping us safe, advancing our society forward, because we're infighting in the community. So I was just frustrated with the state of policing, my personal experiences in the profession, and I just decided to write a book in February of 23. I mean, no plan for it. I stayed up till 4 in the morning one night, just writing. So frustrated. I think I was crying. I was like crying or angry, and I'm just slapping my keyboard about this profession and how beautiful it is. And we're having so many people that are messing it up in it. And, we can't have that. And over 4 months, and again, I didn't plan on writing a book, but over 4 months of staying up till 4 in the morning, I had this like 275, 13 chapter book on, leadership, culture, and wellness, how they all intersect, how you have to have all three to be really good at your job. You can't run a bad police department or a bad military unit as far as low morale, low retention, a lot of disciplinary issues, a lot of call outs. Like if you have that in your unit, you're not going to be as successful as you could be, obviously. But what does it take to run a great culture? You have to have high level leadership. Well, how do you have high level leadership? Not just people that can do it, but also people that can be sustainable because they're healthy and they're well. So I've really just realized that wellness, culture, leadership, they all intersect. No matter what we do in this profession, we have to have those three at least. So yeah, the book was just born out of that. And then when I wrote that, I started getting opportunities to speak and present the book and the material. So I created an LLC, Motivate Change, to just, okay, now I think we're on to something. I don't know where this is going to go, but we're going to start putting out some training, start doing mentor workshops, coaching, presentations, and keynotes, like whatever I have to do to keep this ball moving for the policing profession, because that's who it's for, and military. But obviously, the military is a much larger thing, and I think the military is rooted in tradition, where policing. I'll give you an example. Pennsylvania. What state are you in?
So right now I live in Virginia, but I'm originally from Detroit. Yeah, Detroit.
Okay, cool. So in Pennsylvania, out of the 50 states, Pennsylvania has the third most number of police departments. So you can imagine you have Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, which are the anchors of the state, thousands of police officers. And then you have everywhere else in the middle, 2-man departments, 3-man departments, 6-man departments, 12-man departments. I'd say the average in Pennsylvania is probably 25, 30 officers when you just average it all up into all the small towns, which there are more of than the big cities. So when you have that many number of municipalities, that many number of police departments, that many number of police executives, they're all doing different things because we're human beings. We all do things a little differently. Plus your communities all probably need something a little differently. So without this robust uniformity, it really creates, like, some police departments are run really well and they don't have a problem with recruitment and retention and everything's good there, morale. But then a lot of the police departments are not really run well. And how can we make them more balanced, and how can we make that so you can generally have good quality police departments within, everywhere you turn, left, right, northwest. And I really feel like that's how we get into, by putting the right leadership in place, the right chief executive, the right police chief has to be put into place. Once that chief executive's in there, and that's the right one for your culture, that will all trickle down and give him time if you double behind and support that new police chief. And sadly, I think sometimes elected officials who appoint these police chiefs, they don't know really what they're looking for. They don't really know what a good police chief is. And they might want somebody that's an empathetic, compassionate, lead by example, police chief, an influential person, somebody you want to do the right thing for as an officer because your boss is doing the right thing, right? That's a great way to lead. But then they'll say that's what they want, but then they'll hire somebody who shoots, perfect on the range, tactical officer, great reviews, performance reviews. The only negative is like they're not like the most touchy feely mentor kind of guy
Mm-hmm.
or girl. That's great at what they probably do, but would that make a great police chief? Probably not, if we're being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Because leadership really is being able to listen, not kick in doors, not be the first one on the range, a qualified expert. Like that's all good, and you should encourage and applaud that. But the fundamental parts of leadership are active listening, empathy, all the emotional intelligence tenets, being compassionate, being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, not being insecure with yourself, and being able to work to a solution as a team. All that's high level EQ. That's what makes great leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still behind the eight ball in the profession because it's not, and I say this word sexy, it's not sexy in the police field to be those things. It's cooler to have the glasses and be all tatted up. I got tats. I will look cool in a uniform. I do all that. But that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what we look at. It's like we stop because it's uncomfortable then to lift your sunglasses up and get some close to somebody, look them in the eye. Hey, I'm really sorry that happened to you. Can you tell me what that's done to you, or what does that make you? How does that make you feel? Like we stop at that because we're not good at that. But that's how we lead, I think, and that's how we have a lot of influence. And then that trickles into our communities, which is the most important thing, is serving the people. So yeah, that's kind of how it's all born, of just starting to get out there, talk and speak and try to make change.
That's nice. I think what I can say is like a common thing I saw because I have family members that have served as police officers in law enforcement, but I've never been interested or thought about going to that area sector. However, they look at me like I'm crazy because I did serve, but I'm not gonna say I was like an infantryman or anything like that. I was support and I did in the role of 92 Alpha, but I did go on like deployments and stuff like that. But a common theme that I can see with both of them is leadership. The leadership can affect the organization so much. Like I won't say the last duty station I was at, but the leadership, I went through 3 different commanding officers and a few other things that like wasn't right because the leadership wasn't stable. They weren't stable. They didn't have things together. And you saw that usually show up with the way that we trained, the way that we prepared for like deployments, for daily operations and things of that sort. So I have a theory in my head that, like everything starts at the head. It's almost like with a spirituality and like religion and everything like that. Like you have to have a good head. You have to start off at the head and then build down from there for it to be a good foundation for
Dude,
everything
I
to
love that. I
succeed.
love that. And that's kind of the same thing I was saying. Like it starts, you can't, I mean, bottom up leadership is a great concept. If you're in an organization, like you can't fight, right? Like there's only so much power you have. If you're just one person and you're not the boss and you don't like your boss and it's a bad organization, you have two choices. You can leave or you can stay and do the best you can to bottom up lead. Set
Mm-hmm.
that example for people around you, your peers, and hopefully that inspires people above you. It's such a hard job. You have to plod forward. You have to be consistent and positive and set a good example even when things around you are chaos. But you're right. If you can get the right person at the top, man, it's so much easier because that person that holds the whole organization accountable, sets the standard, treats everybody equitably, which is so important. You can't have differentiated standards. Like I'm going to treat you differently because I don't like I don't like the way you live your life, and I'm going to treat this guy who might be living the same way as you, but because he's we have the same interests, I'm going to treat him differently. You can't do that. And so many people in organization leaders do that, and it just disrupts. I think disrupts all momentum you're trying to gain when you're trying to work as a team. But then you have favorites, or you're selective in your enforcement. Yeah. So yeah, to hear your family members say that, I think there's
Yeah, I would agree. I think even though we're going to start the conversation, like go a little bit different from the leadership aspect that we were talking about, it still kind of connects though. I want to talk about some challenges, tell us about some challenges that you had like as an entrepreneur and like how you overcame those things, because I think all leaders need to be able to understand that challenges will come, especially as an entrepreneur. It's not going to be all roses. You have some of the people, like I guess I'll say the social media entrepreneurs and stuff like that comes up and like, oh, this is flowers and roses. I make hundreds and thousands of millions of dollars and all this stuff. And it's like, let's be honest, like it's not that. Like entrepreneurship is a ever evolving thing where you have to change and reorient yourself in that path and that journey that you're going on. So it's like, are you able to share some of your challenges and tell us like how you
yeah,
overcame?
absolutely. And real quick, like the Alex Hormozis and all these guys, on the internet that I love that because they all have an origin story. They all were sleeping in their car or had,
Mhm.
two nickels to rub together, but then they got to there. So I think they're great examples for us, entrepreneurs trying to get to that level. But you're so right. It's like this, it's already such an intimidating feat trying to, be successful in this. And if you pay too much attention to those people, you realize like, man, from where I'm at to where they're at is such a big gap, and you almost gets distracting and too much noise. So I've just learned to take it one summit. This is what I say, my house, but one summit at a time. Like all I can do is focus on that next goal. And then when I get there, whatever that level is, I don't care where anyone else's level is at. That's the trap. That's the trick, right? We compare to each other. So just do one summit at a time. So some of the big challenges I had are sales, still being able to talk about, and I've gotten a lot better at this, but being able to talk about money as it relates to when there's negotiation. So they want a service from me, but they don't want to pay what the service costs. And then I have
Mhm.
to sit here and sell why that price has to remain that way, and why that value and that price is set the way it is, and help them understand, like, if we're talking about money more than anything, this probably isn't going to work. It's probably not going to be an advantageous relationship if the money is the sole factor. You want the service and you are passionate about the service, but it is a little too much. Then we do have to have a conversation about that, what that looks like, and just being comfortable, selling that and being confident to stand there in your power and kind of say, like, this is why we do what we do. This is why we charge what we charge. And by the way, if everything goes the way I think it'll go, you're going to love it. You're going to really appreciate it, and you're going to be grateful that you spent this money. But I couldn't do that in 2021. I was like, I don't know why we're charging that much. To be honest with you, it is kind of seemed like a little high, right? I was all over the place because I think coming from the military, coming from law enforcement, at least for me, having such a service oriented personality, a mindset, like I
Mhm.
would want to do things for you because it's free. Like I don't want you to have to pay me. I take pride in showing up at 4 a.m. and if you're on a domestic or you're locked out of your house, whatever it is, no matter how big or small, and being that solution for it, I take pride in. That's all I need is like helping somebody. But now in business, that's not enough. You have to make sales. You have to have revenue. You really have to be mindful about your expenses and what you're doing. Like that, you're not going to be around if you don't do that. So that was the growth I had to learn how to push through, is how to learn how to still be helpful, how to still be a humanitarian, but also be a disciplined business person.
Mhm.
I think it's a real challenge, for me at least it's been.
Mm. Yeah, I think that is like a very challenging, concept to wrap your mind around. I think like what I can kind of say to that is like one of my mentors told me, it's like it's almost like you got to be a shameless plug. You got to know your worth. You got to know what you're presenting to that client, and then you got to be able to just back it up. Just walk in confident and be like, this is what it is. This is what I'm going to provide to you, and then this is how the payment solution is going to happen. And like sometimes that won't work for everybody, but at the same time, you're not here to service everybody. You have a specific group that you're targeting because like say for instance, like, and this is just me throwing out a wild card with your like coaching and everything with a leadership in law enforcement, it might not apply to someone that's a teacher. It might be some similarities and things of that sort, but they might not see that same like return on investment. So it won't be as beneficial to the teacher as it will the law enforcement agent. But
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
kind of talking about differences like that, I want
Yeah,
to bring us
and the
some.
funny thing is, I think this might have been in the EBV actually. Now that you say this, I think somebody in the EBV said this, that if you don't know your worth, how can you expect somebody else to know your worth?
Correct.
And I was like, wow, that really like bang, it like grilled in my head. And
Hey,
that
shout
helps,
out.
like, because sometimes you're on social media, right, making a post about your business. You're trying to
Hmm.
maybe not even sell anything, but you want to direct them to your website because you want to sell for something from the website, or whatever this is. Like sometimes it's just you. Sometimes you have to push through the fact that like, oh, I'm talking about myself or my business or how
Hmm.
awesome I am. And yeah, you want to get testimonials, you want to do all that stuff, but you also got to be proud of yourself, and you got to be not cocky. You have to be humble, but you need people to see like I'm proud of what I'm doing and I believe in what I'm doing. And I think there's a lot of value in what I'm doing, and I would love to work with you on this somehow, some way. Let's make it happen. You got to learn how to like kind of talk like that and be like that, because if you're wishy washy, they're not going to feel confident. They're like, I don't even know if this guy knows what he's talking about. So I think a lot of business owners, we have insecurities. We just have to.
Yeah, I think, and that's a ever evolving thing because like as you reach new levels, it's going to be a new insecurity. Like it's almost like those games we used to play. You beat this level boss, but now you got another boss that you got to beat
Exactly.
coming up, and
Yeah.
it's just like one of those ever changing things. You know, I think one of the big things that I did want to talk to you about also was like, the current climate of being an entrepreneur, like America 2025, you know, how community service impacts us, and then like how we can like start collaborating with like other entrepreneurs or other people in
Yeah.
our community to make like big gains. Like, can you tell me like what do you think your current views on this status now, and then like what are some things that we could put forward to actually make these collaborations happen, as entrepreneurs?
Yeah. No, man, it's America 2025 is such an interesting time because there's so much noise out there, right? And it's not
Mhm.
just in entrepreneurship, it's in politics, it's in entertainment, there's just so much division and I guess conflict. There's so much conflict going on that seeps into business. You see businesses now that start to kind of take this political position, well, we're going to support this because of
Mhm.
this, or we're going to believe in this. And it's like that's where it gets really gray and messy. It's like, are we getting into this for social justice, or are we getting into this to make money, put out a great product or service, impact the world in a good way? That should be enough. But now Asian businesses are going even a little further and kind of digging their heels into, political support or social support, which then you're
Mhm.
alienating half people or some people when the goal is to make money. And I just think it's such a it takes a lot of discipline, I think, in 2025 in America to be an entrepreneur. We all have opinions. We all have experiences. We all have thoughts. So we all have like these emotional experiences that like why we feel the way we feel. And that's great. But when we bring them to business and we lead like that, and I've been guilty of it before too, I think we're risking our ability to earn money. We're just limiting or capping our potential. And I'm not saying we don't stick up for anything, of course, but I also don't think we need, as business owners, need to interject ourselves into every issue
Mhm.
because we can, or because we have an opinion, or we've made a little bit of money and now we think our opinion means a little more. I think it takes a lot of discipline to say, if I want to run a successful business, I have to do what the business and my teammates and my people need me to do, and that's really it. And I don't need to be focused on anything else. And I think so. I think just the political stuff, the racial stuff, the COVID stuff, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, people are like, it's just, there's so much noise. And I think if we get back to our human connection, that you and me are brothers. We both served in the military. It doesn't matter your MOS. Now we're both entrepreneurs. I know who you are, Will Marcus. I can see you. Doesn't mean I know what your experience is like with growing up, your childhood. But I think if we can all start to see each other as similarities as people and also respect each other's differences, it's really, to me, it doesn't seem hard, but it seems like that is a challenge of just
Mhm.
treating each other civilly and like humans. It is shocking to me that we're in this boat, but I think that affects your bottom line. And if you're trying to run a successful business, I'm not sure how helpful that is getting involved in all that stuff.
Mm.
What are your
No,
thoughts on it? I'm curious
that's
what you
deep.
think.
No, so I have the same, takes because like even like I kind of look at policy as like I don't like the two-party systems, right? Because like a lot of times I see like those two-party systems cause a lot of like chaos and tension between people, no matter what field it is, whether it's like health, a business, education, anything. It always causes a clash in between the two parties. So it's like when I explain to people like my view on things is like I like to think of myself as being like very liberal. Like I'm in the middle. Like I hear both sides because like one policy I may see that is like more beneficial as the Republicans may present it, but then I may see another policy that the Democrats present that's like that's a good policy as well. And overall, like I want to know what's good for the American people overall. Like I don't want anybody to be swayed by their political, like their personal interests, where I'm going to benefit like this because this, so I want this. It's like almost just being like a selfless servant. Like when we
Yeah,
took that
right.
oath, we were like, I promise to put my body on the line, to protect against enemies, foreign and domestic. So I kind of take that same approach to policy, law, any type of issues, because it's like, how do we help the masses? And it's like, what is that option? And how do we go towards a path like that?
Yeah.
That's just my view on it.
And I think you're right because we all have platforms too. That's the other thing is some of us have huge platforms, right? If you're like a celebrity, you have 6 million followers. But I still think guys like us have platforms. They're much smaller, but we still have the ability to influence people around us. It just might not be millions, but it could be hundreds. We probably could have hundreds of people who don't even realize that we're influencing weekly, monthly, just people that know us really well, people that see us at work, kind of on the peripheral. So we all have the ability to show up and set a good example, model that behavior, own your shit when you mess up, and don't make people have to track you down to fix it. And I think that's how we can set a better example in our society for community. And that breaks every racial line, poverty line, political line. Like that requires nothing other than just being a good person and showing up. And that's what we need to do to band together and do that. I think the politics, right? We're talking about business. Could you imagine having a business meeting and you have 20 people in this meeting, or this round table, or this rectangular table, talking about something really important. It's a business meeting at your company, but you happen to know that 10 of them are Republicans and 10 of them are Democrats. And you only go around and talk to the people that you think the same. So you don't talk to the other 10. Now, how much you're missing 50% of the possibilities of having this project completed as great as it can be, which hopefully will then turn into making as much money as we can be, which then could turn to how much we can make an impact to the community around us.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of my analogy for politics is we have to stop, because it translates everywhere. We have to stop limiting and saying just because I don't have the same letter after my last name as you, I'm not going to listen to you, because we all are going to have great ideas. And if we can listen to everybody, take it all in, and then make a decision on what we want to do, that's so much more healthy, I think, than because then you're more pragmatic and you're making it more objective than subjective.
I think the concept you're talking about was really good. And I think I read something close to it, like in Extreme Ownership, I think by Jocko. It is by Jocko. Yes. So it was by Jocko. I read this maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, and it kind of talked about like just taking complete ownership of like your task, yourself, your being, and like that's how you ultimately like lead and you win. So I think if we get more people to start taking an approach like that, we'll be able to, build a holistic America, where America isn't, going parties, each party's going at his neck in any situation. It's more of like, let's come down and find a common goal for the masses to win. So
For sure. Dude, we're all human beings. We're all going to make mistakes, and we're all going to have great ideas.
Blood.
Yeah, and we're going to make mistakes. We're going to have successes. No one's going to be more right than anybody else. And people that act that way, and I think that's why we treat these politicians and these CEOs or these professional athletes. Our culture, our society loves to look up to people like that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying that that's a human being. That's guaranteed one of them had cheated on their spouse, or guaranteed one of them went through a divorce, guaranteed one of them went through a bankruptcy, guaranteed one is battling a substance issue. Like, they're human beings. It's okay. We don't have to celebrate them. We can respect them, but also understand that they're human just like we're.
Yeah, that's some good advice. I might have to sit down and give me a life coaching session from you. But
yeah, man.
In the meantime, let me ask you a question. I want you to get in the time machine, right? We're going back 10 years from today, and you get to give yourself some guidance. What's some key words you're going to tell yourself to steer yourself to where you're at now?
Most of the negative things that happen to you, young man, are not going to be personal. It's just going to be life or business or the way things shake out. As an emotional guy, I needed somebody. It would have been nice if somebody told me that, because I took everything personally, or mostly everything personally. When somebody does something unkind or disrespectful to you, why would it be anything but personal? But I got to a point where I realized, getting back to what I just said, is we're all broken a little bit. We're all human, obviously. We all have different perspectives. We all see the world differently. You and me could be standing right next to each other, looking at the same thing, and we're going to see it a little differently. We'll say, yeah, that's a tree. It's a beautiful sunset. We'll say that. But you're going to see things different than I'm going to see things. I'm going to see things. Hey, did you see that? Well, Mark, like, I didn't notice that, So don't take things personally. Don't realize that if something happens to you, could it have been personal? Sure. But could it also just been some freak situation, because the way they see it, the way you see it, they're on a different schedule than you. They're on a different wavelength than you. The vibe is different. They're in a different financial situation. Like, so many things. And then we just want to say, oh, that person didn't get back to me. Well, maybe they didn't get back to you for a multitude of reasons. Maybe they're going through something. So, and that's helped me especially the last 5 years, not take everything personally. It just helps me push through. Things still happen. I still get shot in the back with arrows. Still happens. We all do, right? But I don't take it personally anymore. All I can do is try to be as kind and respectful to everybody I can, as helpful as I can be, always give more than I take. And that's got to be enough. It's got to be enough. And that's helped me just continue to generate momentum and push through some of those obstacles where 5-10 years ago, those would have just, some of those obstacles I would have stopped. I would have turned around and went the other way. So that's what I tell the younger self is like, don't take it personally, and that'll help you get more momentum and push through those challenges when they come.
No, that's really great. I think what I can tell you, what, because I had that same lesson that I had to learn myself, and I actually didn't have to learn that until I became active duty. So it was right before became E5. I had another E5 kind of come talk to me because the platoon leader and some of the other NCOs in our company felt like I was just a know-it-all or something like that. It was like, oh, he just wants to do this and wants to do that. But I'm like, no, I'm just looking out for my squad, the team I got to protect. At the end of the day, like, I'm going to speak how I feel about something if it's warranting something against what I believe is best for them. And if they're coming to me telling me things, I'm going to voice their concerns as well. So it was like the NCO had put me to the side, and he told me, he was like, they think you're know-it-all. They feel like you better than them, this, and this. And I'm like, it's actually the total opposite. I just don't agree with what they're saying and what they're passing down. So I'm going to speak my piece. And just because I might be a little more educated, or I may use like different words compared to like how you express yourself, it doesn't mean that I feel like I'm a know-it-all or I'm any better than you. I'm just standing up for what I believe as a person. But after that talk, and we actually sat down and had those powwows, they saw that I was coming from an honest place. So it's like, things start to shift. But it took that moment, because before that, I was just like, forget them.
Yeah,
I don't
100%.
care about those NCOs. Like,
Well, that's
they're
the
not
culture
signing the check.
too. Like you explaining that, the way I take it is, and let me know what your thoughts on this. And this is just like an observation about it,
Mhm,
because just what I know about you in the brief time we've been hanging out. You show up into a platoon that probably was set in its ways,
mhm,
maybe had some insecure leaders, and you come in as this light, asking questions, wanting things to be as best as they can be, taking care of people around you. And that is a different vibe than what they're used to. So we project now and we ridicule you or gaslight you, when really all we're projecting on you, the things we're telling you, are actually the way we feel about ourselves. It's not that you're better than us, it's that we're insecure that you might be better than us. So because people don't treat people like that if they really didn't care, if they weren't insecure. Leaders celebrate people like that. The new guys come in, right? And it's like, okay, you're a sergeant, I'm a platoon sergeant. I should be encouraging you to do that. So I
mhm.
just look at it as like a insecurity type of thing, a negative culture. And like you said, you had to kind of push through it and get to a better spot. I think that's a testament to your character.
Yeah, appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. But that definitely was the situation that happened, and it eventually got better. I still talk to some of those NCOs to this day now. Like,
Wow, that's cool.
they're still in, and we talk, and we go back and forth, just check and see what's going on. But ultimately, they're good people. They were just trying to, like, I don't know, probably like mask those insecurities or something at the moment. But
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
good friends now, still communicating
Good, good,
everything.
good.
So yeah. So let's switch back to the business. I know we've been talking a little bit about service and stuff like that. It kind of intertwines a lot, so it's really cool. So
It does,
I'm
yeah.
going back to like the business, motivate change. You have some current products and stuff out on the market, and one of the things that kind of caught my eye was your book, The Holy Trinity of Successful and Healthy Police Organizations, Improving Leadership, Culture, and Wellness. Tell us a little bit about that. Where can people find it? What were some things that you can say can guide people to actually read this book, or who this book is for?
Yeah, so the book is written for the policing profession and the military. But there's a lot of I interject a lot of storytelling and personal anecdotes in there, and that's my background as police and military. But I purposely wrote it in a way that these lessons can really transcend any industry and profession, because at the end of the day, it's a holistic way of how we show up in the world. These aren't these external things. It's basically, I need to be better at this, better at that, better at this, better at that, and then I'll be the leader I think I can be, and then I'll create the culture that I think I can be, and then I'll be as healthy and well as I think I should be because of all the inner work I've done. It's a heavy book on leadership development. If you are a mid-level leader, a new leader, mid-level leader, and you want to aspire up and you think you might be an executive someday, it's a really good book. I think how to set organizational culture. Again, we focus on the military and police, but organizational cultures, that translates all fields, right? Treat people like you want to be treated.
Mhm.
Lead by example. Put your people in front of your own wants and needs. Have a common mission that you're influencing everyone to achieve and accomplish. All that translates to healthcare, education, even a business. So there's a lot of that. And then I go into a whole wellness, and I share my personal experiences and some of the falls I've had, and suicidal ideation and using alcohol to self-medicate as a coping strategy. I just really kind of pull the layer back and the curtain back of my life in a way not to be vulnerable, just to, be a victim, but to share that it's okay to go through these things. It's okay to fall down. Here are some things I did to pick myself up. You might find other things, but the goal is to pick yourself up. It doesn't matter how you get there. Don't focus on you falling down, and I share those, interweave those stories. So it's a very human story, but also very, I think, educational, informative to help leaders level up and grow beyond their own limitations and obstacles, which we all can do. It's just uncomfortable.
Okay. And
Yeah,
where
so
can
you can
people
get that
find
on
you?
you can get that on Amazon.
Okay.
If you go on my website, motivate-change.com, you can get it there as well. If you
Mhm.
go on my website, and you buy it from my website, I can then sign it, write a message, whatever you want. I have some water bottle stickers I incorporate in the boxes for free and just send them out. So it's a little bit more personal on my website. But if you want more convenience, obviously the one click checkout on Amazon is always good too.
No, most definitely. I will tell you, I will be getting a copy of the book. I'm definitely adding it to my
I'll
library.
send you one. Please don't buy
Hey,
one. I'll send you one.
no, listen, I like to support, so you got to at least let me
All
buy
right.
one. Okay,
All
at
right. Well,
least let me
Marcus,
buy
you
one.
got it. You got it,
Okay,
brother.
I
You got it.
appreciate that. I
Thank you.
appreciate that
Thank
so
you.
much. If you give out one, let me tell my followers to come follow you, and then if you want to give one out as a way to pay it forward, I'll accept that. But I need to support. I like to support
Perfect.
businesses.
That's a deal. We'll do that then. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds good to me, man. I appreciate you. So I got one more question for you, and then we have to go into a quick game. Okay, so you talked about health and it relates to your book, and I believe that spiritual and physical health are big components to being a successful business owner, entrepreneur. How do you tap into your help when you need help with your business? Like, how do you rejuvenate yourself? What are some spiritual or physical things that you do? Like, how do we get the full
Yeah.
picture and body of Chad? And like, what do you do to reset yourself?
Yeah, man. That's deep because we're all going to hit these moments where you need to find something outside of yourself.
Hmm.
So faith is really important to me. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Always was very spiritual, but it was only the last, I would say, 3 4 years that I've leveled that up and I grew even more. I think a lot of it was running into the stress of business, realizing that there is nobody coming to save my family. There's nobody, like, it's up to me as the man and the provider. And how do you do that in a world that's so chaotic, and sometimes there's things that pop up you don't see. So I've been down on my hands and knees, middle of the day at 1 in the afternoon after another denial, tears strolling down my cheek, praying to God that I know you're with me. I know I have faith and trust in you. I know you want the best for me. I know you will open doors for me. And no matter what happens, no matter what perilous roads I walk down, I must maintain my faith. And I want you to know I love you and I trust you and I'll continue on. Like, that is powerful, at least for me. And it helps me. It helps me weather storms. So I would say my faith is a lot of prayer, a lot of reading. I started reading the Bible for the first time, using the Bible app. I still want to get like an actual Bible and
Hmm.
read that. That's always been a goal of mine. And really just to get more in the scripture, and share that with my kids. So that's the other thing
Hmm.
is my kids have really benefited the last several years from, my 8-year-old son, my youngest. We watch Bible stories every night
Hmm.
before he goes to bed, right on YouTube. I got to meet him where he's at. So, I can only get videos in him right now, but he wants to watch videos. He wants to learn about Jesus. He wants to know about the stories of the Bible. How did this happen? And why did this happen? It doesn't make sense. I'm like, sometimes it doesn't make sense. You have to have faith. And we talk about what
Hmm.
faith is. And all those lessons, I think, transfer for any one of us, no matter what your ideology is, to believe in something bigger than yourself and realize that we're one small speck on a rock floating in the middle of the universe. And I think that humility can help us push through when we get rejected and denied, to keep moving forward so we can get those successes, get those yeses. And yeah, man, can you come speak to my group? Yeah, yeah, sure. Can you pay me X number of dollars for a 30-minute presentation? Yeah, absolutely. It's like, whoa, I just asked for something. They said, yeah, it's like, how does that happen? And I
Hmm.
think it's just showing up and having faith and letting the way the world works guide you and not trying to force too many things. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, that definitely makes sense. And I'm also on my spiritual journey now. Recently, like I actually just got my own book. I got a personalized Bible that I just had sent to me. So I bought it about 2 months ago. And last night was crazy. I actually woke up and like read and was like writing my own notes and everything about
Nice.
it. So it's like I'm learning myself too. And it's just
That's
like
awesome.
it's a big growth situation and process with everything. So I would definitely like say I agree with everything you're saying, and like meeting your child like where they're at, that's an amazing thing because like they have that thirst for knowledge. So now you're giving them a platform in an area to be able to accept Jesus Christ on their terms, which is ultimately going to just grow and expand. Now they're going to be like, okay, now that I've watched all these videos, I want to start reading. Can you give me a children's Bible? Can you do this, this, this? It's just
That's
a
a good
beautiful
point.
thing
Yeah,
to
you're
see
right.
how it blossoms. It's almost like a flower. And like actually learning about Jesus and stuff like that, that flower, it starts to like swell and expand. And it's like, it opens up to be so many beautiful things. So I give you much kudos for that. That's really cool.
Yeah, you as well. I never thought about the videos because I'm still a dad in the middle of it. I'm in the throes of it right now, but that those videos can then blossom into something else. So just keep showing up with the videos and let's see where that goes. That's a great suggestion.
Yeah, I actually like one of my spiritual leaders told me like just show up like that. That's what I started to learn. So he's like just show up and like you'll be surprised in what happens. So I commend you to that definitely. So the last part of our interview, because this has been so cool. This podcast has been amazing. I got to put you in the hot seat. I got a game. It's called Entrepreneur Hot Seat. I'm gonna ask you some questions, and you just got to answer them on the fly. It's supposed to be rapid fire and answer. You ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right. So, if you had to describe your business for, oh, you didn't turn the head around. You got
Ready to go. Ready to go. I'm
I'm here
focused. I'm
for
locked in. I'm locked in.
it. Okay. If you had to describe your business philosophy in 3 words, what would they be?
Selfless service earns.
Okay, self-service.
So you can
Okay.
earn money make by selfless service. It can be done.
Selfless service earns. Woo, that's good. I'm gonna have to commit that one to memory. Okay, if you could have dinner with any entrepreneur, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I would say Elon, just because of I want to know like how that brain works. I just want to spend like an
Okay.
hour with him to see how he goes on conversations and tangents, like just to be a fly on the wall and study him. I probably wouldn't ask a whole lot of questions. I want to observe him in his natural element because, man, what
Yeah,
a unique character and
he's very unique.
controversial, but man, you also very unique. Yeah.
Very unique. I would think that his brain is probably like, I think I'm all over the place. I would like to think that his brain is probably like all over the place.
Did you see that video of him recently at a dinner, like at Mar-a-Lago, and Trump's there, and he's
I
like
don't think
playing
I've
with
seen it yet.
silverware, and
No, I haven't seen that.
he like interconnected a bunch of forks. He's sitting at this like nice table in a nice suit, all these dignitaries around, and he's like watch. He was like a kid playing with the forks. They're sticking in the air, and he's showing everyone, look at this. It's like, dude, you're the richest man in the world, and you're like making fork monsters at a dinner table and showing people. It's like hilarious.
No, I'll definitely have to see. I'll probably see it on Twitter at some time. I
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
peruse Twitter like at the end of the week and just catch up on everything. So I'll probably catch you somewhere on there. So, what's one mistake that taught you a valuable business lesson?
Have enough cash on hand. Cash flow is
Mm,
so important. So important to run a successful business is to make sure you put an emphasis and a focus on cash flow. I did not do that. Then I found myself spinning to either acquire funds somewhere, to bootstrap certain projects because I didn't plan ahead with cash. So
hmm
yeah, if you're going to go into business, really think it through and have a cash flow plan, a management
Cash
plan.
reserve and the cash.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and have like a plan about it, have a goal because that's really
okay. That's the lesson. All right. So we got 2 more questions. If you had to start a new business today, what industry would you choose?
production company. I love
Production.
film. I love television. I just finished a television script that I'm going to pitch to a studio somehow, some way. I've never done this before, but that's like my probably my number one passion is content creation, production. I'm such a like storyteller and translating stories. I can only imagine translating a story that I write onto like a screen and see how that's would be like some of the most amazing thing in the world. So probably production company.
Now I know this last one might be hard because we've talked about a lot of writing and stuff today. So, what is one book, podcast, or research that you believe every entrepreneur should check out?
Man's Search for Meaning.
Man, search for me. Who is
Man's
that by?
Search for Meaning by oh my god, that's going to drive me crazy. Hold on one second.
Oh, it's okay.
I have it. I have it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm gonna find it, buddy.
So books.
Maybe not though. It's on there. It's Man's Search for Meaning. It's written by an old Austrian psychologist or psychiatrist who goes into Auschwitz, the concentration camp during World War
Is it
II.
Victor?
Yeah, Viktor Frankl. There we go.
Yep. There we go. Victor
There you go.
Frankl. Okay.
So Viktor Frankl wrote this, and he gives you his insights of what it's like to be in a concentration camp
Mhm.
as a Jew, but as a highly educated Jew who's like a psychiatrist before the war. so he can understand how these situations are traumatic, how the brain works, and he basically writes this it's like a memoir of his experiences in Auschwitz and how all the trauma and all the bad things, he realized he can control his thoughts. He can look into the skies and the heavens and think of the possibilities and the joy. It's just such a profound book in the worst situation possible that probably any of us would wither up and die. How to come out of that with relentless optimism, how to be grateful for life. Man, it was really profound. I read it like a really dark time for myself. I read it and I was thinking to myself, I literally cannot be upset right now. I have no reason to be depressed. Like I was in an inner turmoil with myself after reading it just because of that. Like it was so empowering. And here I am in my head and my problems, which aren't big compared to this guy's. And yeah, it helped me. I was like, all right, man, you got to get out of your shadow and your own way and start moving forward. So yeah, very profound book.
Okay. I'm going to have to check that one out too. So before we end this podcast, I need you to tell me, like, where can the followers find you? What's your social media? You can restate your website again to your personal brand and everything. Give us the outlay of like how everybody can find you.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn and X. So they're the only two platforms I'm on, LinkedIn and X. My handle is Chad B Motivates. If you just search my name, Chad Bruckner, that'll pop up too. But I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and X. Smaller follow on X. I've kind of gotten to politics without even trying to, but now I'm into this anti-war thing on my page because of all the stuff going on in the world. Like war is bad, and I don't want us to go to war. So Chad B Motivates, or my name on LinkedIn or X. My website is motivateandchange.com. So you can sign up for the newsletter, be on the mailing list, check out some of the presentations I offer, workshops, the books available there as well. And I love to engage with people. So like if you connect with me on social media, I'm going to probably accept it. You send me a message, unless there's a reason why not. We're going to engage and trade messages. So I think that's a really important way to build community and how we can all help each other. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Appreciate you, man. Y'all heard it here from Chad B Motivates himself. He just gave us a lot of game, a lot of interesting topics and takes on entrepreneurship here on Bourbon and Business. I hope you enjoyed the episode and tune into the next one. Peace.